Try that, Spence.
Bring me laughter.
That's better. I can see you now.
All the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness. So much joy we can give. With brand new bread tomorrow, bring me sunshine. In your smile.
Bring me laughter.
So which part of the podcast is this going into, Yaz?
And this is why
Half
people
a
like
shop
live
quarter.
stream.
Yeah, one too many Shirley Abersons and this is what happens.
Oh my god.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dungeons & Dragons Podcast UK. My name is Yasmin, and I will be the DM.
Hi, my name's Colin, and I play Cuin de Greymont, a paladin from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I play Cadeaux Chasseur, a cleric also from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Brian and I play Ogvar Shawfoot, a ranger from Kessig.
Hi, my name is Samantha and I play Elora Greyvale, a sorcerer from Nephalia. At the end of episode 75, the team decided to go to Ardrum's apothecary to get the Drenau delivery done and dusted. With the herbs handed over, the super nice shopkeeper gave them a generous gift which was greatly appreciated. Next on their agenda was a nosy around the noble neighbourhood in pursuit of a particular place of interest and, after a fairly frosty exchange with some of Axum's employees, Cuin was satisfied that his sword was superior to those of the manpower protecting the mansion. Upon decanting back to their digs at the guild, a slightly sombre Esther Aziz plied her palette with yet more Shirley Abersons in a bid to regain her usual sparkle, just as Cadeaux casually cruised back into the bar. Episode 77, Jellies, Jars and Jewelery.
So we start off back in the guild. Elora, Okvar and Cuin are all gathered around a table with Esther. You're all nursing a drink. Esther probably has a couple on the table in front of her, lined up, ready to go. So yeah, you're all sat there when through the door into the main part of the guild walks a figure that you vaguely recognise as Cadeaux. I say vaguely recognise. His armour is filthy, his face is coated in dirt, and his hair is sticking up in every direction. He looks quite frankly like he's been dragged through a hedge backwards. So Cadeaux comes over to the table and sits down. At which point, what are you all doing?
Oh, there you are. Enjoy your run.
Well, it was quite an adventure, Cuin, I'll give you that. It's hard to explain.
Did you fall in a puddle?
No, Pickle picked up the scent of, I think, of one of those rat people.
Oh.
So I ended up down this little dark alley.
Oh.
And I got attacked by a member of the city guard. I mean, she literally stabbed me in the back.
Oh.
This member of the city guard.
Are you all right?
She was a foul, revolting person.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I've healed myself, I'll be fine. But it bloody hurt. She threatened my dog. So I got quite angry. So I nearly killed her, but she bloody escaped. Anyway, down at the end of this alleyway, there was like this little grate, and I went down in there, and it was very similar to the place we found down by the docks. I found bits of chewed up body, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. I found this as well. Ogvar, you might find this useful. It's a little 1.5-inch statuette of a raven made out of solid silver. Look at that. I'm guessing that has some sort of significance, but on the basis that it's a raven, I thought you might like it.
Oh, well, it's very interesting. I shall have a look at it. It's, something to keep, something else. Thank you very much. Oh yes, it's quite Quite detailed, isn't it?
Yeah, I've no idea if it's magical or what, but I just thought, it rung bells for me that you might like it.
Excellent.
It looks a bit like murder.
Oh, it does, yes, in the right light, I suppose, yes. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and then, so I ripped her ear off. That's how angry I was with my mace, my morning star, because I proper heaved with her. And then Pickle and I tried to chase her into town, but we lost track of her, unfortunately. But whilst I was chasing her, I had a thought that actually I might be able to get some information out of the city guard. So I'm in this state because obviously you've seen what they're like. They're not the smartest bunch. So I thought if I was neat and tidy, they wouldn't talk to me. So I roughed myself up a bit.
Oh, well, you did a good job.
Yeah.
It smells a bit.
And I had a chat with a couple of fellas, and they gave me some really interesting information, actually. So I was thinking about how we're going to get into this bloke's house, and I thought one of the options might be that we could disguise ourselves as members of the city guard. So apparently, if we go up to the barracks up at the north gate, there's a chap there who's in charge called Jerome van der Tack. And he'll sign us up into the city guard, assuming that we look the part, which I'm having met some of the rest of the city guard, I imagine we'd not struggle to get in. And so I had a long chat with him apparently. Apparently we shouldn't ask him about the Battle of Dry Fish Dock, because apparently he never shuts up about it. But otherwise, apparently he's an alright bloke.
Laura's just going to exchange and pull a face, like screw her nose up and eyebrows.
I've not heard of it either. But anyway, apparently don't ask him about it because he goes on and on and on.
Oh. Right.
And then just as we were wandering back, I happened to pass an appraiser. So do you remember that ring that we found in the sewer? I had it appraised. It's
in the sewer.
In that on our way down in the trucks thingy.
Oh, you mean while you were examining the bedding and stuff?
Yeah,
that one that dropped out.
Yeah. So it turns out it's a shadow storm ring.
Oh,
so,
what? Sounds interesting.
Well, it fires lightning apparently.
Does it?
So, yeah. So there you go. Useful, isn't it?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
And then we came back here because we thought we'd sort of update you on what's gone on. What have you lot been up to?
Well, we went and dropped the supplies that we had off to the apothecary. That guy's really nice, and it's a really lovely little shop he's got there. But funny enough, while I was in there, we decided to. It seemed like a good idea to ask him and see if we could find out exactly where Axum might live. And as you can imagine, it was up in the Noble District, the biggest house. So we thought, seeing as you've gone, we'd just take a wander up there and just do a bit of a recce, from a bit of a distance, don't want to get too close. But as it is, we did locate the property. And it's got like 5-foot walls and 5-foot railings above it and a couple of iron gates into it. And there's no real vegetation or anything around it, so it's quite sort of open. There's nowhere to there's no trees or bushes or anything. And there was a couple of really officious guards that came out, and Kieran had a bit of an altercation with them, and we just thought before we created too much of a stir, we'd come back. So we sort of headed back to the guild. But I did say to Esther on the way back that, maybe we could try and get hold of some plans for the house from maybe one of the main city offices, the town hall or something. But she seemed to think that it would probably be the church that had that sort of thing, and bearing in mind the problems that the church is having with Axum right now, they probably wouldn't be there anymore. So I gave up on that idea, and we went back to the guild.
Well, you never know, they might keep them in the library. They hadn't robbed the library, had they?
Well, I did ask her about the library, and she seemed to think that they would be actually more likely to be at the church.
Yeah, we could ask. Well, no, I mean the library in the church. There'll be a library in the cathedral. I would imagine the bishop's got his own private library.
Well, he might have something, he might not, but Axum's probably seen to that, hasn't he? But we'll see. So then I thought, while the others came in to get the drinks in, I thought I'd just go and see if there was any way that there was a job being advertised on the adventurers board. I know usually, well, there wasn't, and I did ask behind the desk, and they said that sort of permanent employment opportunities were sort of regular employment, were not the sort of thing that got advertised there. and the jobs didn't go very often. It's usually word of mouth.
What sort of job were you thinking of? Guarding or
Well, no,
chambermaid or
anything really.
serving wench?
Well, whatever. If it gets somebody inside the house, it was an idea. But no, there's nothing like that. No permanent employment gets advertised. Just odd jobs from the nobility from time to time go up on the board. One-offs,
Perhaps they recruit them from somewhere else. Perhaps you'd be able to.
Well,
there's a branch of Wenches Are Us somewhere in town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rent a wench.
Yeah.
Rent a wench.
I think that might be a completely different section of the city, dearie.
Oh, yeah. Might be joining you with their Shirley Everson soon if this conversation carries on the way it's going. Yeah, so that was a no-go. But at least I tried. It was, but yeah, there you go. So, here we are.
Well, I've had quite an exciting morning, so I could do with second breakfast. So,
Oh, God.
I'll get this.
I believe it. It's lunchtime.
Well, yeah, it's close enough, isn't it, Kieran? Should we get ourselves something to eat?
Yes, I think we should all have a bit of something to eat.
Yeah, I'm kind of not feeling it. I'll just stick with the drink I've got.
What for?
Or just, I think I'll just stick to bar snacks, I think.
I'll have something to eat.
Yeah, definitely. So, from memory, it's a buffet lunch, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a buffet. We'll head up to the bar. We'll head up to the bar and find out about the buffet lunch.
Okay, so it's the same buffet lunch as you've had previously. Same, kind of variation of roast meat. This time it looks like a kind of game birds, more kind of game birds, not a kind of big boar like they had last time.
Bit like a Laura.
No,
Back to the
A bird or a big boar? I'm not sure which one you're
I'm hoping we're back to the wench jokes.
I would have probably gone with the latter.
The big boar.
Stunning. Lovely.
Right, yeah. It's a selection of kind of various bird meat. You've probably got a bit of, like some kind of scabby kind of duck bird, some kind of, pheasant, some kind of chicken. It's probably, you'd probably take a very good guess at saying that, they only do these big bits of meat, these big boars, when they're able to hunt them. If there hasn't been anything come in, they'll probably use a different kind of meat. But nevertheless, you've got your meat, you've got your selection of veggies, you've got your selection of food, and you're very welcome to go through the same process: pay, get your ticket, get your food.
Perfect.
So I'm going to say you pile up your plates.
Oh, always.
Yeah, mounds
Always.
of food on your plate.
Extra gravy.
Yep. In terms of bar snacks, you've got things like peanuts, mixed nuts, trail mix. There's all that company available.
Are pickled onions in a jar a thing in Innistrad?
Pickled eggs.
Pickled egg?
Pickled onions, pickled eggs.
Gherkin.
Oh, God, that's a D4. 1 to 2.
What's the fourth one?
Hang on. Gherkin. Gherkin,
Gherkin,
eggs.
egg, onion.
Oh.
What else can we pickle? Apart from pickle.
Beetroot. I don't know.
Beetroot.
Beetroot. There we
Okay, so God. 1 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Onion, egg, I can't know how to spell it.
go. Gherkin.
Gherkin.
Just put a little cucumber.
Beetroot. Mixture of
Okay.
selection.
Oh God, roll me a d4.
Okay.
Selection of pickles.
Oh,
No, 3.
3.
3.
There's pickled gherkin.
Oh, ace! Probably the least favourite one on the list, but we'll go for it.
Colin looks like he'll enjoy that. Not. Need some of those airline sick bags to pass around the table, don't we?
It's all right if you dip it in your
Is
beer.
that a Colin or a Kewin reaction? I want to know.
That looks like a Colin reaction to me.
Cannot stand it. First thing, get a Big Mac, open it up, gherkin.
Oh,
Gherkin.
that's just a waste.
But you throw them into the back of your car.
When I had the van,
Kewin, what's
Yes.
a Big Mac?
It looks like a really big coat that you wear when it rains.
Yeah.
honest,
There you go. Things you learn.
well, they out the window. Fritz me out the window.
There's some podcast listener out there who's wondering who the hell it was that used to keep throwing gherkin pieces onto his windscreen.
To be fair, there's some technique there, isn't there? Did you notice there's an excellent bit of wrist flick when he's getting the gherkin out the window?
Practiced.
Practice with sword, that is.
Okay, now we know why you be able to flail so well. Okay, right, yeah, so you sort yourself out with some food.
Sorted.
So Kewin and Cadeaux, you're gone a little while getting yourself food, piling it up, making sure that it's actually, make me a dexterity check. Actually, no, balance check. Make me a balance check.
Balance check. Balance check for my dinner.
I want to see how much food you actually managed to pile up on your plate successfully.
17 all in.
5.
The gravy is on the floor again.
I was in front of him.
I wouldn't.
I went
hold it up.
first.
You took it up.
He's walking behind me.
But I wouldn't have piled it up. When I go, I don't pile it.
Okay, so you both returned with Kewin. You've got a fairly a nicely plated up plate, very reasonable. Cadeaux, you come back and it's literally like the leaning Genrix tower of food. You've absolutely piled it up, and it is actually a wonder how it hasn't spilled everywhere yet.
Super.
Okay, Ogvar, you return from the bar with your jar of pickled gherkins.
The whole jar.
Yeah, the whole jar.
Oh wow!
And
But-
you're not going to.
I'm offering them round to everybody.
Well, in fact, when you went up to the bar, you saw obviously the various snacks they've got. You did actually notice that the pickled gherkins, there were a considerable amount of them on the shelf.
Oh,
Very
nice.
dusty jars. I mean, when you go to open up the jar, you've actually got to blow the dust off the top.
Excellent.
Okay, so you all make your way back to the table. You get back onto the table. You've got your food in front of you. In the meantime, everyone can make me I want to say perception, a listen check.
Listen, check.
Yeah. Listen check or spot check, whichever you prefer, actually.
That's a 17 all in for a
17 all
For a
in.
spot check.
Get the same score for either.
Non-natural 20.
Ooh.
Oh, same. Yes, had 20 all in.
If I stick all my points into that.
21.
21. Oh.
Oh,
Cool. So we've got 2 20s and a 21. That's going well.
Okay, so as you're going around the room, and this isn't just as you come back to the table. This is as you're going around the room individually. And I mean, Laura, you've stayed at the table. You're nursing your drink. You're with Esther. Esther's giving you a bit of company, having a bit of a chat. You might actually be probing a bit more, asking a bit more about the church. And Esther's very happy to give you the answers to all of your questions, and throw in a couple of snippets about her own experience, etc., etc. So going around the room, as you approach the bar and you begin to have this interaction at the bar to get you a jar of pickled gherkins, you notice, Ogvar, that the room is very, very lively. It's a buzz, there's quite a lot of chatter going about, and from where you are at the bar, obviously the bar's where people go and they hang out and they have a drink and they trade some chat. You were able to hear over here at the bar that there are a group of performers in town.
okay.
Due to arrive shortly, and it's a guy who's spreading this message, and he's talking to his friend or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, I saw them coming in, I saw them coming, they were coming, they are. He's proper halfway sloshed already. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he's halfway sloshed. But from what he's saying, you're able to gather that there is some kind of interest going around town. Something's happening which has changed the atmosphere.
Okay.
Cadeaux and Kewin, you are able to, when you're going up to get food, I mean, you've walked down to get your food, you've gone round, you've walked back up. You're very easily able to pick up a bit more information. From the information you've managed to gather just from listening around the room, you know that this particular group of performers, they appear every so often. They travel around Innistrad. Usually they're in Kessig at this time of year. You hear one lady comment to her friends, "Oh, aren't they usually in Kessig at this time of the year? I thought they were usually over Kessig way." So you're able to gather that this is a little bit unusual. This is a very unusual event, and this is probably contributing to the fact that it's everyone's so gossiping about it quite a lot. Laura sat at the table with Esther. A lot of people are moving around, and you are able, as you're sat there, to kind of overhear snippets of conversation. People going, "Oh, I wonder why they're here," and are they going to hold another public show, or do you think it's something else? You get that kind of atmosphere. So you all get back to your table. You all sit down. You all start tucking in. Kewin and Cadeaux, you are ploughing through the food. I imagine you're going at a bit of a slower pace with your pickled gherkins.
Yeah, I imagine Ogvar's sort of taken his knife out of his boot and sort of fishing them out with the end of his knife dagger. And he's trying. He's bought a whole jar. He's trying to offer them to people as a Esther. Would you like one, Esther?
Oh, sure thing, dearie. That looks quite delicious. She plucks it off the end of your knife, and you get the kind of pop as it comes off the end. And she goes, oh, that looks quite delicious, and dunks it into the top of the cream on her Shirley Avocid.
Oh,
Nice.
Before sticking it into her mouth. Do we need to get you a sick bucket, Cole?
So seeing that, Ogvar's going,
A creamy gherkin.
well, that's an idea. So he pulls a gherkin out. He looks over to his side, and Kewin's plate's there, and he just scoops up some mashed potato off Kewin's plate and has a munch.
Hold on there, sir. You know, you could have got yourself. Cadeau's got more than me. What are those?
They're pickled gherkins. Would you like one?
Dear me.
And without even asking, he's just going to put one on his plate straight away.
Oh,
I've got loads, you can have some more if you want.
Here you go, Spencer.
Who's Spencer?
Here you go, Cadeau.
Pickle likes those. That's fortunate.
Oh, there you go. A pickle likes a pickle.
Yeah, we'll give Pickle one of them.
Yes, you give it to Pickle and he's straight down. Straight down, the pickle is gone. Gherkin is gone, pickle hasn't gone again. Concerning. Okay, so it's not long. You're probably kind of halfway through your plate of food. You might be about a third way into your jar of gherkins. And you do actually begin to notice that the room suddenly becomes a lot more busier, and you actually hear people kind of go like whispering around to each other, like, oh yeah. And with this disturbance, with this motion, you notice that filing into the back of the room are a group of people who are dressed in an array of bright colours, bright patterns, and they are very clearly performing people. They very clearly are these performers who everyone's been talking about. Just from the atmosphere of the room, you're able to gather this. And they begin to file into the room. They take up several tables at the back of the room, and they begin to kind of get drinks in and start ordering drinks and ordering food.
Are they sat far away from us?
Yes, they're sat at the back of the room. You probably sat somewhere kind of middle of the room, middle to front.
Right.
They're sat very much up at the back, and they're very much taken over kind of the back corner of the room.
Right.
They're spread off across 6 or 7 tables.
Are they quite loud?
Not deliberately.
Right.
They're not being loud in the sense of shouting across the room and like saying, "Oh, hi mate, how you doing? I haven't seen you since last month or whatever." They're not doing that deliberately. They're just talking amongst themselves. But obviously, the number of them, they're just naturally quite loud and producing quite a bit of volume. But they don't appear to be interacting with anyone else around them. They're very much just interacting with themselves.
Right.
Okay. What would everyone like to do at this point?
Is it obvious that they are who's been talked about? Do we all
Oh
sort of-
yes, it's very obvious just from how they look. The fact that people around you are now going, "Oh look, that's them." Like, "Oh, I wonder if they've got a show on this year." It's not subtle. People are pointing, people are staring, people are whispering, like, "Oh yeah." And you hear kind of tales like, "Oh, him last year, he threw a knife and it cut straight through this." They're telling these great tales of what happened at last performance or the performance before war. "Oh, it wasn't as good as it used to be back in my day. They used to fight tigers and you get these overly exaggerated stories which are clearly, made up. But they're just adding to the atmosphere of the room, and the room is building in volume and it's building in atmosphere.
The people sat on the table next to us.
Oh yeah, there are people around you.
No, not the performers aren't. Just
No, they're just general.
Oh no,
people.
the room is pretty full. It's lunchtime.
Okay. I'm gonna look at the others and raise my eyebrows. Laura's gonna lean over to the table to her right.
Yeah.
And say.
pick a right, any right.
Yeah, I've just gesticulated to the left, but never mind. Just say, excuse me, hello. Hello.
Yeah, you.
Can I ask? Do you know what all the buzz is about? I mean, it's obviously something to do with these people in the corner, but do you know what the buzz is about?
Make me a gather information check.
Uh-oh.
Does anybody want to assist her with asking questions? Is anybody going to help join her asking questions, or are you just going to leave her to it?
Well, for
No,
now, I'm
leave it to
finishing lunch.
Yeah, they've got their faces full, haven't they?
I mean, priorities, come on.
If you offer them a gherkin, that's going to count as a negative.
It was an icebreaker.
Most people like a gherkin.
Would be if you threw it.
Ogvar will be present. I'm not sure how much help he would be, but
Okay, if you want to make me an assist check, so make me a gather information check. If you get above the DC, you'll give a +2 to a score.
Laura's just rolled a 14 all in.
14, okay.
that's a 13 all in for Ogvar.
Yeah, okay, so that's, he's assisted you. That score was good enough anyway. So between the two of you, you're asking the questions. Ogvar's sat there looking pretty.
That's a challenge.
Gherkins.
Licking cream off the end of a gherkin.
Take it. Come on.
Gherkin ice cream.
So yeah, this gentleman on the table behind you, it's a group of older people. They look to be late 50s. They're workmen, you'd guess. Quite rough, quite scarred, but older. You can tell they're probably reaching the end of their working life.
He keeps looking at him.
I'd say that they were in the prime, wouldn't you, in the 50s?
I would have to agree with that.
I'm keeping my head down.
You can probably say that they probably spend more of their time in the pub now than they do actually working.
You mean they're civil servants?
No, there's going to be nothing civil about them if you carry on. Okay, so you begin to talk to me, you begin asking questions, and you're a fairly attractive something. How old is you?
Something.
How old is Alora?
Alora is
Just
30.
describe Alora as fairly attractive.
No, it was a fairly attractive something.
Yeah, it was the something part.
Fairly attractive for a mimic.
Oh dear. Alora is 34.
You're a fairly attractive 30-something to them. And they're quite willing to answer your questions and strike up a conversation with you.
I'm writing this in capitals.
And they're quite keen to tell you, get involved in this conversation, and they're a little bit sloshed. But they tell you that these people are a group of travelling performers. They go around the entirety of Innistrad. They usually make a circuit of the city in the year. They usually start off in Thraben and finish off in Thraben. So Thraben gets 2 performances a year. And they are the biggest performing group in the plane. They have lots of various different skill sets. They've got tumbling, acrobatics, animal handling. It's all the typical skills you'd expect from a traditional like Barnum circus. And they do have the big tents, the striped tents. But part of their performance, there's a lot of magic goes into it. They have spellcasters as part of the circus, and they do a lot of work to make all these magical effects and make it this really, really gorgeous affair, which is beloved by everybody. When they appear, it is the highlight of the year for whichever city or town they are in. They usually only hit the really big towns, and they do spend a lot of time travelling, and they spend a lot of time preparing, and a lot of time actually split up and out in the wild, really. People don't really know where they go. They don't seem to have a permanent residence. They just turn up on time and then disappear again. They're quite mysterious in a way. They are collectively known as the travelling circus or the troupe. If you make any reference to circus or troupe, people in cities in the plain will know who they are. And these when they appear at these big cities, they'll appear at Selhoff, they'll appear at Junau, they'll appear at Trostad, they'll appear in Gastaff. It's only the main cities on the map they appear in. The smaller towns don't usually see them at all. But it is one of these events where they know that they will be appearing in a city at that point. People will travel to see them. During the time when, for example, they appear in Havengol, for example, you get people from Gloomrest who go up and travel to the city, to stay in the city, to see.
So we would all be familiar with
Yeah,
them.
you would all be familiar. The only one who might not be would be Ogvar, potentially. But as for the rest of you, Kieran, you would know quite a lot about this group. Alora, you would be near Havengol, and so would you, Cadeaux. You'd all know quite a bit about this, and it's kind of, it's one of the things where you've probably been very occupied with things going on. Alora, you've spent a lot of time on the boats, and with everything going on in your lives at the moment, people saying performers, you're like, what kind of performers is this? Something's particular to the city. But when you start hearing this guy describe the events and whatnot, you're like, it's these guys. And they're very well known, very mysterious. You don't see hide nor hair of them until it's time for them to perform. And then come into the city. In between, it's like they disappear.
Right. Okay.
But what you can gather from him is he's telling you the rumours he's heard, and apparently someone's one of the hunters who was out hunting near kind of a bit heading towards Kessig. He apparently saw them camped up on the side of the road, and it was a rumour going around that they were coming back to Selhoff, and obviously they're here. They're in Selhoff, and it's not at the scheduled time they're supposed to be here. Where they are at the moment, they should have been most of the way through Kessig, but for whatever reason, they've doubled back.
Right. So if we're familiar with them, would we know that this is out of schedule for them?
Yes, you would. So you know that probably at this point, their next stop would be in Lamholt, in the centre of Kessig, but for whatever reason, they're now in Selhoff. So usually they cycle around, they go from Thraben, they go down to Estwold, they go to Beryl, and they go round through Drunau, through the curve, and then they come back through Kessig, and then they go up through Stensia, and then back up to Thraben.
Right.
So they make that kind of circuit around the entirety.
Right. So Alora is going to go, yeah, it's all right. I've got you. I know who you mean now. That's fine. I'm with it. Yeah. Do you know what they're doing here?
Not a clue, Missy.
You don't know
Rumour has it, right, okay, and you didn't hear this from me, because I heard it from a guy who was working on the docks, and he heard it from a guy who was working in the warehouse, and he heard it from a lass who was working in the back of an apothecary. So you didn't hear this from me.
Alora's pulling her face, but yeah.
But apparently, someone big has asked them to come back into Selhoff for a bit of a private performance, if you know what I mean. He gives you a wink and a bit of a, oi.
A private performance. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for your information. That's really helpful. Thank you. And she's going to immediately turn round and turn back to the table. Would this lot have heard the conversation?
Ogvar, almost certainly. Esther, she's been sat next to you. She'd have been paying attention as well. Cadeaux and Kieran, would this be something that you would be kind of, what's Laura doing?
Nah, full in lunch.
Full in lunch.
Yeah.
Full in
Stuff in your
lunch.
face. That's it.
Okay. So yeah.
Laura's going to turn and say to them, right, according to this guy over here, he's heard from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, don't ask, that they're back in town, because they wouldn't normally be here at this time of year, would they? We all know that. But apparently they're back here to do a private performance for somebody.
Yeah, pickle?
but
Sorry, roast potato stuck.
So, I don't know. I mean, surely there's not that many people that can afford to bring them back in for a private performance. So I'm assuming it's somebody of note.
Why? I assume so, but don't call me Shirley.
Yes, I've seen them, with my parents, and quite a few times. They're jolly good fun. We can ask them. You know, why they're here.
Well, maybe,
I'm sure they're friendly. If we buy them a drink, they'll have a chat, won't they?
Or you could ask the barman. They tend to get to know things around here, don't they?
They've only just walked in.
Well, I know, but
Why don't we go and have a drink with them? They look friendly. So, having mopped up the last of the gravy, I'm going to go for a chat.
Okay.
Come and do it.
Yes.
Buy them a drink.
So you head down towards the bar to go and pick up these drinks. And when you get there, the bar is humming. There's a lot of alcohol flowing. They've opened up big barrels. They're shoving 10 mugs at a time onto the grates and filling them up. So yeah,
Is there a performer at the bar?
No, not you can see.
So there's no member of the troupe currently shopping?
No.
Well, I'm just going to go. Are you running a bit behind? It's all right. My family's from Thraben. You know, are you going to be late going to Thraben on your tour? Because my brothers love you.
You speak to a guy, and he's clearly one of the performers. He's very, very short, almost a dwarf, you could say. And he looks at you. He's got this big, thick beard on his face. And he goes, "No, we'll be fine. Everything's on schedule. Thank you for worrying. Now, if you don't mind, I'll spend some time with friends, if that's all right."
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Good lad, there you go. And he immediately kind of dismisses you and turns back to the table. Cadeaux, are you still at the bar?
Well, the answer to that question is yes. I'm just deciding what to do.
Yeah. So you're still at the bar. The barman comes up and he goes, "Right, hello lad, how can I help you?"
Well, I was going to buy one of the troupe a drink just to say sort of welcome and how good it is to see them, because I normally miss their show. I was quite looking forward to the fact that it looks like they're going to do one here sort of out of turn, but they've just shut me mate down who was asking where they were going to perform, so obviously it's some sort of a secret.
Yeah, well, tell you what lad, I'll do a special drink. 2 gold, and it's going to be a house special, yeah?
Oh, I do like a house special, yes.
So he turns around and he makes some form of concoction. It looks a bit like a Shirley Avison, but it's bright green. You're not sure what's in it. He slides it across to you, and you're kind of at the corner of this bar. And he comes over and he places it in front of you, and he goes, "Right, lad, if you want to put it for performance, they will perform again here. So it'll be a bit of a treat second time round this year. But I'll give you a bit of a hint here. I'll give you a bit of a gossip here. So you don't tell anyone." And he taps his nose. He goes, "You don't tell anyone." He goes, they made reservations here about a week back. So they're all staying here at the guild. So it's going to be a bit chocked up for the nights, next couple of nights. But I know they've made reservations here at the guild and a couple of other big places around town. But apparently, from what I've overheard, they've got a bit of a do going up at the City Lord's mansion in a couple of days. I think 3 days. They're due to leave here in a week's time. So if they're doing a bit of a private performance, they might be doing that first and then doing a bit of a public one. So
Well, I hope so, because I won't get an invite to the City Lords one, that's for sure.
well, you didn't hear this from me, and he takes you 2 gold, because I'm assuming you've probably given it.
Oh, yeah, yes.
He takes the
slide
2
over
gold.
a couple of gold.
He takes 2 gold, pockets it, gives you a bit of a nod, winks a bit, turns around and walks off. And this is the same guy who's been making the Shirley Avison's Festa. He probably quite likes you guys, because he's got to do his cocktail skills.
So I'm going to take the green drink over to our table.
Yep.
And
Before-
pass it to Esther.
As you pick up your drink, he comes back over, he slides back over, he taps the bar and he goes, "Gelatinous cube jelly. It's good stuff."
Excellent. So I'll take that back to our table. Esther, I was just talking to the barman, and he said you'd like one of these.
Ooh, what is it, dearie?
He said something about a jelly cube something or other.
Oh, it's quite vibrant. And she picks it up, and as she picks it up, you notice that it wobbles a bit. And it is clearly some form of jelly in a liquid. And she goes, "Oh, well, bottoms up." And she and it's that sound you make. You know when you've got your kid and you kind of mash your jelly up and then you just slurp it off the spoon. It's that exact sound. She kind of slurps it, and it's like, and she's like, ooh, citrus, ooh, and a bit of a kick afterwards. It's quite lovely. Thank you, Cadeaux.
Oh, he wasn't wrong then, was he? Anyway, guys, I'll be honest. I paid quite a lot for that drink, but what I got out of the bloke was a bit of information. So, this lot are doing a show for the City Lord in 3 days. That's why they're here. They've come here out of turn because they're doing some big do for the City Lord up at his digs.
Oh.
So.
Now that is interesting.
It's interesting, isn't it? So. Yeah. I mean, we might better use that somehow.
Yeah, that would be a very useful distraction.
The reception Queuing's getting, they don't seem overly friendly.
Yeah, but if it's supposed to be hush hush, they probably don't want to get engaged in a conversation. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know.
But anyway, 3 days. So apparently it's happening up there in 3 days. Now, I mean, that's bar gossip. So, I mean, he's been quite good to us, that barman, so far. So, I mean, got to reasonably trust his information. But we might need to corroborate it, perhaps by another source. But
well,
anyway.
yeah, the guy next to me said that. Well, he said they were in town for something else. But yeah, okay.
You never know. Might be true.
Right. Well, I guess we need to discuss things here. First of all, we haven't actually told Gerhardt that we're gonna, that we're gonna help him. I take it we're all up for helping.
Oh yes.
What do you reckon, Kieran?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought that was pretty well sorted.
Well, I feel duty bound, so.
Well, I think we all feel the same way about that. That we need to do something about this. We can't just leave this. And it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse, isn't it?
I mean, when we say we're going to help him, he's asked us to do several things. Are we going to help him with all of them?
Well, I would imagine that we all want to try.
He wants his stuff back, doesn't he? He wants us to deal with the rat people, and he did infer that he'd kind of like us to help him sort out the City Lord.
Well, yeah, they may not all be one and the same thing, but the thing is, if we're going to try and get this stuff back, I mean, first of all, we need to know how he wants us to deal with the City Lord, if that's the case, if there's a choice, and second of all, I mean, what are we trying to get back? And if we're going to get it back, it's probably going to be in his house, isn't it? I mean, I think we all know where that's going.
It's not in the warehouse anymore, is it?
That's very true.
Well, some of it was, but clearly not all of it. Because the bishop suggested that there was quite a lot missing still.
Yeah.
Maybe he has an itinerary of what should be there and obviously what isn't.
Well, what else do we need to do? I can go and speak to Gerhardt if you like, but this is quite a lot to do and plan, and if this thing is true, we'll try and corroborate that somehow, that information about 3 days' time. But if that is true, then we need to pull stuff together as quickly as possible, because that's an ideal distraction if that's true. Do you not think?
Oh yes.
Well, yeah, not just as a distraction. I mean, it might be a way in through the front gate. We might be able to somehow sort of attach ourselves to the group and get in that way. You never know. I mean, it's just a suggestion. But they've got to go in there, I assume, and get in and get set up. And there's a lot of them. I mean,
well, yeah.
They might not notice 4 people and 5 people on the back of the group dressed up.
Well, I think.
I mean, another way might be. I assume they'll have to be escorted. So. The other option is perhaps disguising ourselves as city guard and getting in with them that way.
Do you know what? I think that is probably a better idea, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that if there is something big going on at Axum's place, then a lot of the city guard, I mean, they haven't really got a lot to do, have they, other than walk around the street? We've seen the odd one on street corners and stuff, just loitering.
And attacking the general public, it would appear.
Well, yeah, but I mean, surely that they're going to probably push resources towards that if there's something big happening there. I mean...
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, if he's having a big party up there with a big guest list, he's going to want to make sure it's safe, isn't he?
Oh yes, when we went up there earlier, there was I would say there's more guards up in the Noble District than there are around here. So a few more wouldn't make a difference, I don't believe.
I mean, if you're going to go and see the bishop, I would recommend you take somebody religious with you. just because he's not the most forthcoming of people otherwise.
Well, I'll take Esther.
Yeah, if Esther's happy.
Esther can come. Esther,
Yes.
would you like to come to the church with me?
Yes, just 1 minute, dear. Let me finish up. And as she says that, she has 3 Shirley Alfresons left in front of her, and it goes 1, 2, 3, bang.
Alora's jaw is
In a row.
slightly hanging open and looking at her with a kind of twisted look on her face.
She gives her-
What?
Quite delicious. Rubs her thumb over her top lip, gets a bit of cream off, licks it, and goes, right, come on then, dearie. We off? We ready to go?
Is she developing a problem?
Do you want a gherkin for the road there, Esther?
I won't say no if you're willing to spare one.
I'm
Oh,
not
yes,
sure.
of course, son.
I'm not sure about developing a problem, but she's definitely developing a bill.
Oh,
That's not going to be cheap. How many did she even have with Arvis?
Well, I can't take my money with me, dearie. Might as well spend it now.
Oh, are you picking up the tab, are you?
Of course, dearie. I've drunk the most out of all of you.
Oh, bless you, Esther. Laura's going to sort of push her chair back and stand, and she's going to say to the others, well, look, I tell you what, why don't we... I know we haven't totally confirmed this is correct information, but I would imagine the barkeeper's fairly... I mean, they tend to know what's going on here. This is the guild.
Well, the bish might have an invite.
He might. I'll ask
that's
him...
a good point.
Maybe we can ask him about that at some point as well. Look, I'll head up there and tell him that we'll help him out. Why don't you boys see if we can get ahead of the game, and one way or another, with or without this performing act, we're going to have to get him probably into his mansion. So why don't you see if you can get maybe some uniforms or something, or a map, or...
I mean, your idea of a map was quite good as well. So perhaps some of us need to look into getting a map, and perhaps some of us need to find out if we can sign up to the City Watch as a group. So,
Okay.
any thoughts, people?
Yeah, well,
Map.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll get going. I mean, yeah, we could do with a plan of the house if we can get one, and anything else that you think would be useful. And I'll come back. I'll come back to here, and we'll meet up later on.
Well, don't forget, ask the bish if he's got the plans to the house, because he might have plans to the house. You never know.
I'll see.
Sometimes the church keep them, and sometimes they don't. So, I mean, while you're there, you might as well ask.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Right, Alora's going to push back her chair. Obviously, she didn't have anything to eat, so she's just going to say, I'll see you all later, guys. Esther's coming with me.
Yes, off we go, dear. And as she walks around the back of you, Rolfar, she leans over your shoulder, grabs the pickle out of the jar, shakes it a bit and goes, one for the road.
Oh, you're most welcome. Anytime.
And off the pair of you go. Esther quite happily munching on a gherkin.
Is she going to take a spare and put a gherkin in a jerkin? No?
She might have a pouch at the front. She might have put it in her firkin.
A firkin, gherkin and a jerkin.
Except she doesn't have a designer bag sent it big, she put it in a Birkin.
Oh, that's terrible. It's too good.
Why did mine get the terrible reaction?
Right, okay. So Alora leaves the
Okay.
building.
So, Elora, you're going to
Alora
go
has
off
left
up
the
to the church. So while Alora's at the church, what are the rest of you doing?
So, fellas, where else might we get some plans of the building? I mean, the City Watch know me, so it's pretty worth me heading down to see if we can sign up to the City Watch. I don't know if either of you want to come with me, but it makes sense for one of us to... I'm trying to think who else might have a map. So perhaps the town hall, or the public records office, or... I'm guessing some architect probably had to design it for him. We might be able to find the person who designed his house for him.
Well,
They
it's
might
a-
have plans.
It's a strong possibility, yes.
After being assaulted in an alleyway, Cadeaux admitted that his attacker had gotten away, minus most of one ear. In the rear of the alley, he accessed a grate in the wall leading to further grim discoveries, as well as a statuette of a small silver raven, which he later generously gifted to Ogvar. His little detour with his dog had proved both hazardous and harmful, but in the end offered him the opportunity to glean some valuable information from a town guard. Upon returning to the guild, he relayed his findings to his friends, and a short while later, a bunch of colourfully clothed characters crowded into the bar. This conveniently created new avenues of inquiry involving both cocktails and coin. Meanwhile, Ogvar got all snack happy, purchasing a pot of pickles and causing queuing to cringe.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Having you as a listener means everything to us. So, whichever streaming service you choose to listen to us with, please give us a like, subscribe and follow. We would love for you to join us on our Facebook or Twitter page, where you can catch up with all of our latest news. While you're waiting for the next episode of Secrets of the Silver City, why not pop over to our website, where you can read all of the information about this campaign, from backstories to setting. All of the links are in the bio of this episode. Join us again next week for the next instalment. Thank you for listening.